Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome back to Spiritually Wired. I've got a free flow episode for you today, which means that I am going to speak from my heart, allow for spirit to guide and just share what's been going on in my life. I would say that it's been a little bit more of a challenging season lately, which makes it a little bit more difficult to do these free flow episodes because usually it's nice to be able to come from a place of, okay, this is what happened and I've navigated through it and here I am on the other side and here is what I've learned. And a part of this entire spiritual journey has been teaching me that we're always in some way navigating something and that there is no end to it. That is part of life, and really that is the beauty of life. So we get to hold space for both. You know, we tend to think of it as like the peaks and valleys of life. And so if we think of like, a landscape, you've got, some seasons that feel like they're the peaks where everything is flowing and where you're manifesting and things seem to come to you with ease. Your energy is good. You feel, aligned in your body, your mind, your heart. Things are going well in your work life, in your relationships. And then there are seasons that feel maybe a little bit heavier, where, it's almost like you're walking uphill and you've got this heavy backpack that you're carrying. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there's something specific going wrong. There could be that you're like navigating a specific challenge, whether it's in your health or relationship or something specific is happening, but sometimes it's just heavy. Right? And we tend to think of those as are more the valleys. And, I certainly don't love hanging out in a valley. It's not where you want to park the car and stay. However, there is so much to be learned from not resisting those valleys, because there is something that is so important for us to understand. And really that is that the valleys don't separate us from our growth. They actually are the growth. That is when we learn. That is when we expand. We need the valleys to actually help us increase our capacity, our presence, our purpose, our focus. All of that sort of comes to life in the valleys. It's in the discomfort that we actually grow. But, we tend to use the word expansion, and, I use the word expansion a lot. I love the word expansion. But when we think of expansion, we actually tend to see it more as like light, right? It's like this elevated state. And, expansion can feel joyful. But the thing is, we don't get to experience the expansion unless we've been with the discomfort, the pain, the feeling like you're stretched out, you're not sure where you're going. All of that, all of the discomfort actually leads us to the expansion. So it's nice to focus on expansion. It feels great, but the expansion happens in the discomfort because it is about increasing the capacity, growing beyond where you are, beyond what you're used to, opening up in new ways, healing in new ways. So I've really been sitting with this, right? That you can hold space for both. It's not, you can be both in the valley and feel moments of peak, and opposite where you feel like you're in the peak and you're, having those beautiful moments, and still have moments that feel like you're in the valley. So it's the expansion and the discomfort. It's, you can be healing, but you're still feeling triggered. You can be manifesting, but you are still feeling some scarcity, right? Or the feelings of lack, because sometimes the lack is what is actually moving us towards the abundance. We need to notice, we need to be with it, hold the capacity for being with it so that we actually can hold the capacity for the abundance. So it is about allowing ourselves to be with all of it, right? We can hold all of these truths at once. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can be grieving and feeling gratitude, having moments of joy. You can feel overwhelmed and still feel like you are in alignment. You can be feeling like you are not sure what to do next, feeling uncertain, and still sort of hold that space for trust. It's like it's not one or the other, it's actually both and, right? So this is sort of where I'll use the term like spiritual maturity, in the sense that as you move along on the journey, as you learn about yourself, as you connect more on a spiritual level, you really expand your capacity to hold space for all of it, not just the high vibe stuff, but the whole range of the human experience. And so we've been taught that it's pushing away what doesn't feel good, but actually the deeper work is in allowing for it all to be present, not bypassing, not, trying to fix things in the sense of ignoring or numbing or pretending that it isn't there. It's just being okay with what is. And, when I come back to this always in my meditation practice, and that's where I feel like meditation is such a powerful practice in teaching us to be with that, because it teaches us to actually be present to what is, not the perfection of the moment. That's why it's hard. It is not easy to meditate. And it's not easy to meditate, not because yes, there can be moments where you feel, oh my gosh, this was so beautiful. But the reality is that most of the time it is messy. There's so much stuff that is showing up. It's showing up to be released, but it's also showing you what's there. And it's about just being with what is, observing it as you open yourself to be with it, then you're lessening the charge around it. If you're always trying to avoid something and you're always trying to look the other way, you're giving it power. You think you're looking the other way, but you're actually giving it more power. When you give yourself the space to be with it, then it just is. It doesn't have the same charge, because now you're not actively trying to move away from it. You're allowing it into your existence. Michael Singer I know I refer to him often, but he's just a wonderful spiritual teacher. He's the author of The Untethered Soul. And he will say, like, okay, so much of our suffering, it's our attachment, as Buddha says, yes, but it's our preferences too. So we are, we want things to look a certain way. We want things to feel a certain way. And when we don't have that experience, we resist it. And that resistance is what causes our suffering. When we can learn the practice of acceptance, of accepting what is, then we allow for that flow of energy to move through. It's not easy, and it goes against sometimes, or it feels like it goes against the sort of active goal setting that we do. And, I would argue that no, it actually ties in beautifully with it, depending on where you come from it. It's the attachment, the goal setting. To me, the goal setting is inviting my energy towards the creation of something that is expansive in my being. So it's not about the end result of the goal. It's about the healing, the shifts, the moving through, the being with, the discomfort, the all of it that comes from moving towards the goal. So when you look at goal setting from an expansive perspective, it's very different. So it's not that you're necessarily attached to the outcome. From a spiritual perspective, we are taught to surrender the outcome, because the outcome, it's not about the outcome. It's about the becoming that happens as you shift your energy towards whatever goal it is that is calling you. If that goal is coming from an aligned place. When the goal is coming from a forced place, or a should place, or a trying to fit in place, then that's a different story. But let's assume that your goal is coming from a place that is like, wow, this is lighting me up. I want to be on stage and sharing a message with, the world, or sharing my story. I want to, run this marathon, or start this business, or whatever it may be. The goal itself is there to move you towards this expansion. But again, not the light-filled necessarily expansion. It's the discomfort. It's the growing. It's the moving through that will guide you to where you need to be. So that's where sometimes it feels like, okay, where am I? Am I supposed to be accepting what I'm feeling and staying here? Or am I supposed to be moving forward through it? And it's a little bit of everything, but always in allowing yourself to be with the truth of what is. Another author, or another book that we read in the Spiritually Wired membership together, and it was so good. It was Young Pueblo in the book Lighter. And he says that every lie we tell ourselves further disconnects us from our truth. And the lie doesn't have to be a big lie. It's like every time we pretend we're not feeling a certain way, every time we look away, every time we push through something where we don't listen to what we need and we just push through, and all of those small micro moments where we are not connected to our truth, to what we need, and we lie to ourselves, we're disconnecting. Right? So part of the being with what is, it's not that we're dwelling and we're staying in this messy part of like, oh, it's all about discomfort. No, it's just about allowing it to be and accepting it for what is, and recognizing that you are a human being and you are meant to experience all of the emotions, not just the pretty ones on the one side. The other ones are also there, and they're teaching you, and they're moving through, and they are allowing you to expand and to grow and to connect with your soul's purpose. So just sort of to come back a little bit on the whole capacity thing, expanding your capacity, because I just think that it is so important. We want to hold more joy. We want to experience more peace, more love, more success. But what, again, we may not always realize is that in order to hold more of what we want, we actually also want to be able to hold more of the discomfort of what we don't want. So, years ago, I was going through severe anxiety. The only thing that allowed me to move through the anxiety was allowing myself to experience the anxiety. The moment that I stopped fighting against what was happening in my body and I allowed myself to feel the anxiety, the fear that came with it, I let go of the resistance and I just let it be in my body. And I was able to move through it. Now, I'm not saying that this experience, I'm not speaking, I'm not a medical professional, but that was my experience with it, was letting go of the tension that I had in resisting it. And so peace came, calm came from allowing myself to be with the discomfort and the fear that came with the anxiety. So it's not that you are wanting more of it, but when you can soften, my favorite word, when you can soften into it and allow yourself to be with it, then now you're holding more space for peace. So when we think of peace, it's not necessarily, and I use peace because most of my clients, like anytime if I ask people, what do you want to experience more in your life? It's peace and calm. Like those are the two things that come up so much because we're living in a world where so many of us are feeling overwhelmed, we're stressed out, there's so much stuff that we're doing, we're giving. And the thing is that peace is not necessarily the absence of overwhelm and fear and anxiety. It's an allowing of it all. And when we stop resisting it, then we can tap into the experience of peace because we're now fully just present in the moment. We're not fighting against the current of anything. We're letting ourselves be with it. And it's sort of the same for success, right? Like if you want to, you're growing your social media and you want to be more visible and you want to grow your business, well, it also means being able to sit with more rejection. You have to hold that capacity or grow that capacity for rejection and for the no's and the uncertainty, the success piece, the abundance, all of the, they say if you look at the most successful business people, they're the ones who have, been able to hold the capacity for more no's than anyone else. So it's not the absence of the quote failures. It's actually the willingness to fail a lot. And the more you are in that energy, the more you are now holding the energy, the capacity for success. More love. Same thing, like the more love you want to experience, to me, that's a deeper connection, which means more vulnerability and more willingness to be hurt and to experience pain around that. Love, like self-love, to me has been also a big one because it's so much easier to love yourself when everything is going well and you're just crushing it and you're checking off the boxes and you're showing up in a way that feels, good. and, you love the way you look and all of those things. But when you're disappointed in yourself, when maybe you didn't show up in the way in which you wanted, maybe you regret some decisions, or you're not fully loving your body, that is when self-love is really tested. And it's in those moments that we actually grow our capacity to love ourselves. Like when you can love yourselves in the depths of the challenges, and love yourself with your faults and with your imperfections, you are broadening your capacity to love yourself in also the other moments. So that is where it sort of comes together, right? It comes together in a way that the more we are willing to walk in the valleys, the more we are also able to maybe soar a little higher. Is that the right analogy? I don't even know. I'm making this up as we go along, but the main message is that we can hold both. It's not one or the other. We don't have to be on or off. We get to be it all. And that is the messy part of being human. And that is the beautiful part of being human. And for some reason, this is where this episode took us today. So I am leaning into this, and I am here just in so much gratitude. When I started the podcast, I just did not know where it was going to go, and it's been so much fun in so many ways, and it's been also challenging in so many ways. Again, the whole idea of holding space for both. And there's times where I'm like, okay, what am I doing? And then I always receive the most beautiful messages from people that remind me to just keep showing up and keep being myself. And I do not have it all figured out. I am here with you, but I am dedicated to being, to just holding the space and the light for people. And the interesting thing is, even though I've been navigating a bit more of a challenging time, I've also been able to be so connected and so receptive or open energetically. It's been really wild. Actually, in sessions and when I'm guiding classes. And so I've really been, witnessing just how it can be like, again, the two together, where I'm moving through something and then I can show up and just tap in a way that is not new, but different. There's a different quality to it. There's a rawness to the connection that I've not experienced before, which is quite beautiful and interesting all at once. Oh boy. Okay. I am sending you so much love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I want to remind you that you are spiritually wired always for love, for success, for abundance, for peace, for unlimited possibilities. So whatever it is that you're feeling called, guided towards, take a moment, pause, honor that, and just allow that to be your guiding light. Just trust in it. And connect with me on Instagram. Come. at Renee Walker Wellness. I love to be probably on Instagram the most, and I love hearing from you. So please come send me a DM. Let me know how things are going and what you're navigating. Because I think the more connected we are together, the more we do this together, the more we get to rise together as well. All right, sending you so much love, and I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly life lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.